Anjaana Anjaani, Anjaana Anjaani transl. Strangers is a 2010 Indian Hindi-language romantic comedy drama film directed by Siddharth Anand and produced by Sajid Nadiadwala. The film stars Priyanka Chopra and Ranbir Kapoor as two suicidal strangers who meet and make a pact to commit suicide in 20 days on New Year's Eve. In the interim, the couple fulfill their personal wishes and eventually fall in love. Vishal Shekhar composed the soundtrack, with lyrics by various artists, including the duo themselves. Wanting to make an unusual romance film, Anand struggled to find unconventional ideas while he was writing. His wife Mamta then came up with the core narrative of the film, which excited him and changed his perspective, and approached novelist Advaita Kala, who developed the story into a feature-length script, and later co-wrote the screenplay with him. Principal photography was done entirely in New York City, Las Vegas, and San Francisco. The film was released on 1 October 2010 to mixed to positive critical reviews. Reviewers praised the lead performances, music, and cinematography, but were critical of the film's screenplay and pace. Made on a production and marketing budget of $380 million, Anjaana Anjaani grossed $685 million, making it a box office success. Vishal Shekhar were nominated for the Filmfare Award for Best Music Director for the film's soundtrack. Plot: Akash lives in New York City. He has bankrupted his company and is in need of $12 million for paying the shareholders, but is unable to obtain a loan due to a stock market crash. He decides to jump off the George Washington Bridge. He meets Kiara from San Francisco, who is also suicidal after catching her fiancé Kunal cheating on her. Akash and Kiara attempt to kill themselves, but are prevented from doing so by the Coast Guard. Still suicidal, Akash deliberately allows himself to be hit by a car, and Kiara falls on the bridge and breaks her neck. Their suicide attempts are unsuccessful, and they end up in hospital together. When they are discharged, Kiara takes Akash to her apartment because his house has been seized by the bank. The pair try to kill themselves 5 times, failing each time. Eventually, they make a pact to end their lives on 31 December 2009. With 20 days left before their deadline, they decide to fulfill their unrealized wishes and begin a journey together. Kiara helps Akash find a date and shares with him how Kunal cheated on her. The next day, Akash cleans Kiara's messy apartment. Though he cannot swim, Akash is forced to fulfill Kiara's wish to swim in the cold Atlantic Ocean. However, at sea, Kiara falls overboard and Akash rescues her. Their yacht drifts away, stranding them. As the two slowly succumb to hypothermia, Kiara continues telling her story to Akash. They are rescued again by the Coast Guard, who intervened on the bridge. After returning to land, Kiara's depression continues. She attempts to kill herself by drinking bleach and is rushed to hospital. After she is discharged, Akash realizes his love for her and tries everything to make her happy. The two venture to Las Vegas, as Akash has never gone on a holiday, and they end up in bed together. Kiara tells Akash that she still loves Kunal. Akash insists that she move back in with her parents and give Kunal a second chance. He moves in with his friend and colleague then, and plans to return to India on the night of 31 December to start afresh. Akash attends the bank settlement and reconciles with several friends with whom he had fallen out, including his best friend Gaurav, as well as with his estranged father. Meanwhile, Kiara cannot stop thinking about Akash, and on the 31st, she realizes that she has fallen for him. Kunal discovers this and drops Kiara off at the airport. She reaches the bridge, but finds herself alone, believing she will never see Akash again. Just then he arrives. The pair go out to sea to die. Akash throws a beer bottle with a note in it, which Kiara gets and reads before he proposes to her. Surprised, she accepts, and the couple share a kiss while the Coast Guard rescues them. As the credits roll, Akash and Kiara are shown 2 years later, married with their 2-year-old son. Cast. The cast is listed below. Priyanka Chopra as Kiara, Ranbir Kapoor as Akash, Zaid Khan as Kunal cameo, Vishal Malhotra as Gaurav Bal, Akash's friend, Joy Singupta as Deven, Pooja Kumar as Peshto, Tanvi Azmi as the doctor, Kumar Palana as the Coast Guard, Nakul Kant as Kiara's dad, Sucheta Khanna as Sapna, Deven's wife. Production, development. After three romantic comedies, Siddharth Anand wanted his next film to be a romance, yet different from the usual films which were being made at the time. Anand felt he had run out of plot ideas, believing he was writing just another story. His wife Mamta then came up with the core narrative concept about two suicidal strangers meeting and falling in love. Anand revealed that this changed his viewpoint, saying, "It was a scene that got me completely excited, and we started writing immediately. It's a scene that dictates the story." And then approached novelist Advaita Kala to develop the story into a feature-length script. Although a bit hesitant, she accepted the offer. Intrigued by the premise of the story, Kala started sketching the characters over the next few days and began writing the script, which she found very different from writing novels, and helped her understand the process of writing screenplays and co-wrote with her. Kala wrote the first draft, approaching it like writing a book, and sent it as chapters to Anand, saying, "Writing a screenplay can also be a lonely process like writing a novel, but along the way when others get involved, it becomes a fun collaborative effort." In an interview with the Deccan Herald, Anand talked about how the American sitcom Friends influenced the films too. He said, "I remember when I watched Friends, I wanted to meet and know every character. That's how I want audiences to feel about Ranbir and Priyanka." He also wanted the two to resonate with the audience the way the characters in Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge 1995 did. In another interview discussing the film, Anand revealed that he wanted to make it different from his earlier films, aiming for it to be a subdued romance, which is not sexy. He said, "Everyone is going to be covered up in scarves and mufflers and overcoats and boots. This is a rare instance that you'll see Indian actors dressed full up without skin show." Sick in September 2009, it was announced that Sajid Nadiadwala would produce the film as he was highly impressed by the script. Ranbir Kapoor and Priyanka Chopra were the original choice for the film, and their casting was confirmed by Anand in August 2009. After Chopra had starred earlier in Nadiadwala's Mujh Shadi Karogi in 2004, both had wanted to work together again, but nothing had materialized. Much later, Nadiadwala reached out to her to discuss a film he was developing with Anand and Kapoor. Chopra met Anand to discuss the script, but the project did not work out. Later, when Nadiadwala approached her again with the script of Anjaana Anjaani, Chopra accepted the role. Manish Malhotra designed Chopra's clothes, Mamta Anand designed Kapoor's. Salim Sulaiman composed the background score, while Rainfloor S. Baggett edited the film. Filming. Principal photography began in New York City in late December 2009. The setting of the film required filming in winter during the festive season of Christmas leading up to New Year's Eve. Ravi K. Chandran handled the cinematography, while Sharmistha Roy handled the film's production design. Filming was done in various locations in New York City, Las Vegas, and San Francisco, and wanted to capture the distinct flavor of each city, and selected the cities to augment the characters' backgrounds. He chose New York City for Kapoor's character Akash. San Francisco was chosen to depict Chopra's character Kiara, as he thought it was the right backdrop to highlight her life and character. Anand described Blush, the car driven by Chopra's character, as the film's third character, as it is featured extensively. After going through several car options, he chose a vintage red 1963 Ford Falcon Sprint, which was later purchased especially for the film, as Anand thought the car should represent all of Kiara's attributes. This allowed the art director to modify the car's interior with a lot of detailing to suit Kiara's character. The ice skating scenes were filmed at Woolman Rink in Central Park, requiring the rink to close to the public for 3 consecutive days. Some scenes with the leads were also shot at Café Lalo, the same restaurant where When Harry Met Sally, 1989 was shot. The film was also shot at the Rockefeller Center. The producers had earlier scouted for a public bridge in India that they could use for 4 days, but due to the 2008 Mumbai attacks, obtaining permission from a local government was difficult. The search ended in Kuala Lumpur, where a scene of Kiara and Akash attempting suicide was shot. The opening suicide attempt sequence was filmed at the Golden Gate Bridge. Several scenes were shot in Nevada, Las Vegas. Additional filming was done in Malaysia and Thailand. Ahmed Khan choreographed the songs. In June 2010, it was announced that a new song would be shot for the film. Shooting ended in July 2010 after filming for the club track was completed. In September 2010, a promotional video for the remix ballad version of Tujh Bila Diya was shot in Film City, Mumbai. Soundtrack. The soundtrack was composed by the duo Vishal Shekhar and consists of 9 compositions, 7 original, and a remix and an unplugged version of 2 original songs. The lyrics are written by Nilesh Misra, Vishal Dadlani, Shekhar Ravjani, Amitabh Bhattacharya, Anvita Dutt-Guptan, Kumar, Kausar Munir and Urshid Kamal. The vocals were performed by Nikhil D'Souza, Monali Thakur, Lucky Ali, Rahat Fate Ali Khan, Shekhar Ravjani, Carolissa Montero, Mohit Chauhan, Shruti Pathak, Vishal Dadlani, Shilpa Rao and Abhijit Bagani. The album was released on 20 August 2010 by T-Series. The soundtrack received high critical acclaim, who praised the fresh compositions and considered it to be Vishal Shekhar's best soundtrack to date. Jajinder Tuteja gave a rating of 4 out of 5, calling it fantastic, writing, "This one has a classy touch all through with a mix of club tracks and soulful songs that rock the show in a big way. This is their best work till date." Hindustan Times gave it another positive review, calling it a complete Bollywood album. Giving a rating of 8.5 out of 10, Planet Bollywood thought that the musical duo have genuinely struck gold, writing, "The soundtrack has the right blend of fun, youthfulness, romance and melancholy, terrific sound design, superb arrangement and remarkable mixing of the songs in the soundtrack." BBC also praised the album, noting that the music duo have produced a gem. Release. Because Chopra and Kapoor were starring together for the first time, Anjaana Anjaani was one of the most anticipated films of the year. Exclusive stills from the film were released to the media on 4 October 2010. Chopra released a 1-minute teaser trailer on 6 August 2010 on her Twitter account. It received positive feedback from critics and audiences, many calling it promising. The Indian Express wrote, "In a single minute, it has pretty much managed to convey the fun mood of this Sajid Nadiadwala production, which appears to come with a good mix of a new storyline, fresh new pairing, catchy music, high production values and a distinct touch of director Siddharth Anand." Following the teaser release, the first trailer appeared on 9 August 2010. The film's first song was released around the same time. Anjaana Anjaani film was initially slated to release on 24 September 2010. It was postponed by 1 week, just 4 days before the expected date, because this would coincide with the controversial idea dispute verdict, which many anticipated would be disputed and cause chaos in the country. Trade experts were against postponing the film and questioned Nadiadwala's decision, as the government had already taken precautionary measures with the Commonwealth Games around the corner. They also felt that the postponement would send mixed signals and confuse viewers, as the promotional campaign centered around the 25 September release. Additionally, the film would lose the advantage of being the only new release. Changing the release date would mean Anjaana Anjaani would clash with the science fiction film Interim, which might affect the film's box office performance. Still, the film was postponed to 1 October 2010. Later, the idea verdict was itself postponed to 3 days before the film's new release date. Industry insiders started speculating again about the film's release being postponed by another week, causing rumors to spread in the media. However, Sajid Nadiadwala confirmed that the news was false and the film was releasing on 1 October 2010. Made on a production and marketing budget of $380 million, the film immediately recovered $430 million, slightly more than its entire budget before its release. This included $220 million from satellite rights, $80 million from music rights, and $130 million from distribution sales in territories other than Mumbai and Delhi, where the film was distributed directly by Eros. Bollywood Hungama noted that the revenue generated from these territories besides home video will add to the profits of the film. The film's box office revenue on its opening day was $80 million. Anjaana Anjaani made over $257 million at the domestic box office and a further US$7 million from overseas for a worldwide opening weekend of over $382 million. During its theatrical run, the film grossed over $544 million in India and over US$3.01 million in the overseas market, for a total of $685 million. The film was a box office success. Distributed by Eros International, Anjaana Anjaani was released on DVD on 16 November 2010 in all regions on a single NTSC format disc. The film's video CD was released at the same time. A two-disc DVD edition was also released later, which included a poster autographed by Kapoor and Chopra. Critical reception. Karan Adarsh of Bollywood Hungama gave the film a rating of 4 out of 5, calling it a must-see for its interpretation of modern-day romance. Anjaana Anjaani is an unpretentious romantic saga that revels in the exuberance of newly found love. He also broadly praised the acting, styling and cinematography, writing, "The film bears a magnificent look all through and the panoramic and exotic locales of America only make every frame stand out." Daily News and Analysis gave it a rating of 3.5 out of 5, saying that it stood apart from other done-to-death rom-coms in Hindi cinema in the sheer exclusivity of its screenplay and the way the subject is developed. Here, at last, is a romantic comedy from Bollywood that actually does what rom-coms are supposed to. It also praised Chopra's performance as engagingly brilliant. The Times of India gave the film a score of 3 out of 5, praising the lead pair and their chemistry as vibrant, spontaneous, and a finely nuanced performance. However, it criticized the script and narrative for being trite, saying that all it promises is some fun moments, a peppy music score by Vishal Shekhar, and alluring performances by Chopra and Kapoor. KJHA wrote another positive review, saying that the film sets off a tender, saucy, engaging trip. It somewhere loses its way but still gets to its targeted destination because of the lead players who appear to know all the signposts and U-turns. He particularly cited Chopra's performance as redeeming the film's flaws, noting that she provided a strong match to Kapoor's talent. Sarita Tanwar of Midday gave a rating of 3 out of 5, noting that although the film might not be a complicated love story, it's still heartfelt and even heartbreaking at times. A film of this kind is largely dependent on the screenplay and the chemistry between the lead pair. That's what makes it unique in its own way and rather different from what you've seen in the. She also praised the lead pair's performance, writing that Kapoor is suitably restrained and at times in keeping with his reticent character, often overshadowed by Chopra's exuberance. Chopra maintains her cool, effortless acting style and her comic timing is quite a revelation. Together, the pair is eminently watchable, balancing each other's Chopra Gupta of the Indian Express gave the film 2.5 out of 5, complimenting the lead performers who play well together but are forced to boost a limp story. India Today also scored it 2.5 out of 5, calling it a pastiche of a pastiche, and the comedy is restricted to usual jokes that find their way into most Bollywood comedies. Writing for Indie TV, Anupama Chopra gave the film 2 out of 5, criticizing the slow screenplay and artificial characters who are supposed to be unemployed. Rajiv Masand of News 18 panned the film, calling it deathly boring and a challenge to sit through for two reasons. In particular, the film has no script to speak of, and the characters are hard to sympathize with. The Hindu in its review said for a film that showed promise, at least in its promos, Anjaana Anjaani is unfortunately not about that beautiful romance between strangers. Accolades.